Hi and welcome. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge, where we discuss regional New Paltz history and upcoming programs and events. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Historic Huguenot Street, which is a nonprofit 10-acre National Historic Landmark District dedicated to preserving historic buildings, artifacts, and manuscripts, and promoting the stories of the Huguenot Street families who founded New Paltz. This is our last show of the semester, so tonight we'll be talking about all of the events coming up on Huguenot Street this summer. We've been talking for a few weeks about the wigwam being built on Huguenot Street, and as we've described, a wigwam is a dome-shaped Native American structure that likely would have been used by the indigenous people in our region, the Munsee, for thousands of years prior to European settlement. Despite suffering multiple forced removals from their homelands, Munsee people continue to thrive today as several federally recognized Indian nations in Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Canada. The wigwam will serve as an ongoing testament to the Munsee people and will be incorporated into our guided tours beginning May 6th. And so last week, I spoke to guest experience coordinator Courtney Russo to talk a bit about that. And as she explained, the wigwam will be part of the tour just like any of the other historic houses on the street. But now, rather than discuss the Esopus Munsee history inside a stone house, we now have the opportunity to discuss their culture and history in a more appropriate structure, a replica of one that they would have lived in. The wigwam is currently under construction, and you can see it in progress in person now on Huguenot Street, or you can follow Historic Huguenot Street on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to follow its progress. And as we've mentioned, it's being built by Native American crafts expert and museum consultant Barry Keegan. He has constructed over 70 wigwams and longhouses for museums, nature centers, and educational institutions, and regularly demonstrates early technologies for these organizations. Throughout the season, Barry will also create arrows, axes, fire-making tools, and pottery to recreate the daily life of the Munsee people. This Saturday, Historic Huguenot Street is hosting a spring fundraiser focusing on the history and culture of the Munsee, where guests can have an exclusive preview of the wigwam, and Barry will be on hand to talk about its construction. In addition, we'll have representation from the Stockbridge Munsee Mohican Nation. Bonnie Hartley, Stockbridge Munsee Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, will speak at the event, which we're really looking forward to. We'll also be hearing from County Executive Mike Hine and Historic Huguenot Street's new Executive Director, Marybeth DeFilippis. We'll also have on display the original 1677 land agreement. We're actually coming up on some very specific anniversary dates that were noted in the document. Tomorrow, actually, April 28th, will mark 340 years since the English governor of New York, Sir Edmund Andros, gave the Huguenot settlers permission to draft the land agreement with the Esopus Munsee people. The document, which is written in Dutch, actually says, quote, "The associates mentioned below have agreed with permission of the Honorable Governor Edmund Andros, dated the 28th April 1677, with the undersigned Esopus Indians regarding the purchase of certain lands," end quote. That document was actually written and signed on May 26th, 1677, so we have that anniversary date coming up as well. And it's really amazing that we'll be able to display this artifact this weekend. You can also see the land agreement online as well at hrvh.org, and you can find a direct link to it on our Facebook page tomorrow when we honor that April 28th anniversary. At this Saturday's event, we'll also be exhibiting some of the Esopus Munsee artifacts found during our decades-long archaeological study conducted in partnership with SUNY New Paltz, led by anthropologist Dr. Joseph Diamond. That's all coming up this Saturday. You can register for it at huguenotstreet.org/spring celebration. If you can't make it, Just come down on or after May 6th to experience the new tour with the Wigwam. Starting May 6th, tours will run hourly every day except Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. As we also mentioned last week, this Sunday is the second offering of our new Women's History Tour called In Her Words. The tour follows the lives and stories of several women who played a role in local history. Visitors will be guided through 4 historic buildings and have the opportunity to discover figures from the past. That tour is being offered monthly. And you can register for any of the future dates now at huguenotstreet.org/inherwords. And after this Sunday, April 30th, the next In Her Words tour will be offered on Mother's Day, May 14th. Coming up after that, on June 10th, is one of our favorite events of the season. That is the 3rd annual cider market and tasting. We launched this event 3 years ago to celebrate both the historic and contemporary significance of cider production in New York State. And over the years, this event has expanded to feature over a dozen cideries, wineries, and breweries. And last year, we added food trucks and live music as well, which will be coming back this year. And in addition to ciders, vendors will also be selling other products from their orchards and farms, including fresh cut flowers, local apples, apple cider donuts, things like that. So far, we have several cideries already confirmed, including Brooklyn Cider House and Kettleboro Cider House, which both grow their apples here in New Paltz. This year's cider market, will take place on June 10th from 12 to 4. And early bird tickets are currently available at huguenotstreet.org/cider market. On Saturday, so the following week, on June 17th, we'll be hosting a Juneteenth event celebrating African culture, music, and cuisine. For those who don't know, Juneteenth commemorates the ending of slavery in the U.S. On June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War had ended and that the enslaved were free. And yes, this was 2.5 years after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, but Juneteenth represents the day that the Union troops were able to actually enforce the order in Texas. You can learn more about the interesting history of Juneteenth at juneteenth.com. So on June 17th, we'll be celebrating African culture and history. The event will be catered by CIA graduate and owner of Essie's Restaurant in Poughkeepsie, Chef Brandon Walker. Chef Walker will be consulting with culinary historian Michael Twitty on the menu. The author of The Cooking Gene, Michael Twitty is a food writer, an independent scholar, and a historical interpreter whose work preserves and promotes African American foodways, its parent traditions in Africa, and its legacy in the food culture of the American South. There'll also be music, so dynamic musician and storyteller Kim Harris will perform songs of joy, hope, and freedom. Harris has earned wide acclaim for her contributions to the historical and educational knowledge base of the Underground Railroad and the modern civil rights movement. More than just a singer-songwriter, she is an educator, interpreter of history, and a cultural advocate. Terry James of the Slave Dwelling Project, you may remember him. We interviewed him on the show back in the fall. He'll also be at our Juneteenth celebration. Terry will speak about the meaning of Juneteenth, and he will actually come dressed in his reenactment uniform. He's a reenactor. Of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry, which is one of the first official African-American units in the United States during the Civil War. And later that evening, as he did back in the fall, Terry will once again spend the night on Huguenot Street in a historic slave dwelling as part of the Slave Dwelling Project. He has, as we've mentioned, he has slept in over 40 slave dwellings to commemorate his enslaved ancestors. who survived the Middle Passage, bringing awareness to historic slave dwellings' existence, history, and need for preservation. And this time, he'll be spending that overnight with a project called Black Stories Matter, writers from the TMI Project. The TMI Project is a nonprofit offering transformative memoir and monologue writing workshops and performances, and the participants will craft future monologues inspired by their overnight experience in a historic slave dwelling on Huguenot Street. This should be a really amazing, really impactful event, and we're lucky to have it sponsored by a Humanities New York Action Grant. Right now I'm going to take a quick break. You're listening to WFNP, The Edge. Hi, and welcome back. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP, The Edge. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Historic Huguenot Street. So before the break, we were talking about some of the events we have coming up this summer, and I'm going to continue with that. So on Sunday, June 18th, we'll be offering free tour admissions all day, which is a great opportunity for folks who have never taken a tour to finally come down and visit. I would recommend coming early for your tour or on time, though, because the tours fill up really quickly when we offer free admission. And those tours will run once an hour on the hour, beginning at 10 a.m., with the final tour going out at 4 p.m. And again, that'll be Sunday, June 18th. Then on Saturday, July 1st, we'll have our third annual Independence Day reenactment with members of the 5th New York Regiment. Reenactors will set up camp on the Dubois Fort lawn and perform a number of demonstrations throughout the day. The original 5th New York Regiment included many soldiers from Orange and Ulster counties, so we're really lucky to be working with them. At the campsite that they set up, living historians will demonstrate marching and drilling, showing how arms at the time were handled and fired. An armament demonstration will display various types of muskets and weaponry, while members of the regiment explain how they were used, fired, and maintained. Wedge-style tents and a dining fly, as they would have been used during the Revolution, will serve as the backdrop. And additional demonstrations and displays will reveal aspects of civilian life as well, including candle making, blacksmithing, woodworking, musket ball manufacturing, and colonial cooking. And children can participate in reenactment drills and various colonial games. This reenactment is free and open to the public, rain or shine. And guided house tours will still be available on their regular hourly schedule throughout the day as well. Then we'll have our 5th annual Artists on the Street event on Saturday, April 12th. Artists on the Street is an all-day plein air event showcasing the talents of over a dozen renowned Hudson Valley artists. The annual event takes place on the second Saturday in August each year, this year on August 12th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's an opportunity for the public to watch and engage with local artists as they work, creating paintings and watercolors inspired by the landscape of our National Historic Landmark District on Huguenot Street. Then at 4 p.m., artists bring their work to the Dubois Fort to be displayed and made available for purchase during an hour-long catered reception. The artwork will remain on display for purchase in the Dubois Fort for a month, with a portion of the proceeds supporting Historic Huguenot Street. This event is also free and open to the public, rain or shine. Maps will be available denoting the location of each artist across the site. And again, guided house tours will be available on their regular hourly schedule. And we'll also be offering the August date of our In Her Words Women's History Tour that day. So those are all the events that we have coming up over the summer, during the time that our radio program will be offline. Of course, in the fall, we also have Haunted Huguenot Street and our holiday programming coming up, but at that point, we'll be back on the station, so we don't need to talk about those tonight. So before we sign off for the semester, I just want to acknowledge a couple of graduating seniors who have been so important to Huguenot Street, especially this last year that we've been working with the station. Ryan Percy and V. O'Connor, thank you guys so much for inviting Huguenot Street to have a platform here at WFNP and for teaching me and my colleagues how to do it. Congratulations on your upcoming graduation. We're going to miss you a lot. So we're wrapping up now, but listeners can tune in next semester at WFNP.org or 88.7 FM to hear more from Historic Huguenot Street. You'd also visit huguenotstreet.org for information on all of the upcoming events that we talked about tonight, all the other ones that I didn't get a chance to talk about. It's all there. You could also follow us on social media to stay informed on what's happening on the street. And if you ever want to catch up on any of our past shows, they are available on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.